Welcome to this edition of the Million Dollar Mastermind podcast. This is where we pick the brains of high achievers from all walks of life and get their hard-earned, real-world insights on winning. I'm your host, Larry Weidel. Danielle Oropesa from Parkland, Florida. Nearby is Coral Springs and Boca Raton. If you don't know South Florida, right in the middle of the ghetto of South Florida, where all the street crime and tough people live. Anyway, let's talk, Danielle, and thanks for coming back, by the way. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
All right. Danielle was telling me she sent Omar out of the house so he wouldn't be butting in and answering her questions for her. It's going to be interesting for him to listen to this, isn't it?
Yeah, yes.
Do you ever get the thing about, why don't you guys slow down? Why do you keep pushing? And they seem to imply, it's almost like it makes them uncomfortable, the fact that you continue to grow and have fun and have adventures and are able to move from one house to another house, and be able to do these things and that things, and having offices and expanding around the country. And it's almost like they make you feel like something's wrong with you. Do you
Right.
get that?
Yeah. I think different people get very comfortable at different levels. I think when people see other people that aren't comfortable, even at a much higher level, then that does make them uncomfortable, because then they start to think, okay, well, maybe something is wrong with me because I am comfortable at this level, where we look at it. You can't do everything that you want to do at that level, at 250,000 in income. You know, it's a great living, but you can't live every day with no worry about money, how much things cost. You can't take your family wherever you want to go. You can't make all your decisions. That's what, to me, that's what all the growth in income has given us, is that we can live our life without really having to think about how much anything costs. And when we were growing in our business, I think that that's what kept us going, was that we had such a high level of expectation from the beginning. When we talked about our vision very early on, Omar and I have been married now almost 20 years. And so when we talked about our vision very early on, our vision was very big. Our vision wasn't just to grow a business and make a good living and live okay. And that wasn't our vision. Our vision was to grow a huge business, make a lot of money, be able to affect a lot of people, help a lot of people, get to a point where we can, we give a lot of money to our church, a lot of money to our kids' school. I volunteer a ton of time at the school. So we wanted to get to that level where money just wasn't an obstacle.
Yeah.
That's what's continued to keep us uncomfortable. We're like comfortably uncomfortable, because of course we're comfortable in our, like the house that we have now is beautiful and it's very comfortable and we love our house, but there was an opportunity to buy a house down the street. It's literally down the street. We can walk to the new house, but it's bigger and it has a bigger backyard, more beautiful pool, and has a 4-car garage, and we have 3. And so it gives Omar and I both personal space. We're going to have a gym in our house. We have a sauna in our house. We saw that opportunity and we were, why not? We've been very, very smart with our money up to all through our business life. So now we're at a point where, and we still want more. We still uncomfortable.
Well, talk about you guys lived in an apartment for a long time, didn't you? To kind of
We
just
did.
focus on building up your nest egg, just so you would have that independence and you wouldn't be under the gun financially. Talk about that. How long did you live in an apartment after you could afford to move out?
Yeah, when we first got married, Omar owned a townhouse. The townhouse was pretty much nothing. He had bought the townhouse for $99,000.
Yeah.
And our living expenses, home living expenses, were very, very low. So we decided to stay in that house, in that townhouse, for many years. We stayed there several years. We probably were there for like 3 years, the first 3 years. And then we were really, really working. Now we had gotten into kind of like the peak of our working, the amount of time that we were working. And so our office was about 25 minutes drive from our townhouse. So Omar and I were, well, if we sell the townhouse, we move into an apartment, we can live right by our office. We'll waste no time driving. We can run home, eat lunch real quick, run back to the office. We don't have to waste time eating out. We made that conscious decision so we lived all together. It was 3 years in the townhouse and 2 years in an apartment. So it was 5 years altogether that we kept our living expenses very, very low. We were actually living in the apartment, making over $800,000 in income. And we had over $2 million saved before we decided then we had Brady. That was okay. Now we have a baby. My parents lived in Parkland. The apartment was about 45 minutes from where my parents lived. So we looked at houses close to my parents because we knew, okay, we have one child. We're going to have another child pretty soon. I wanted to live close to my parents. So that was when we looked to make the move. But we already had huge foundation under us of money invested, and our income was really, really great. We were able to look at houses and get really what we wanted for a house at the time without really worrying about it. And it wasn't a stress financial.
And the thing is that we don't have to beat it to death, but the deal is that you have the nice house. Now you're getting ready to move to another nice house, but your first house was a disaster with the asbestos, wasn't it? Is that what I remember? Like, you finally get people, you need to know that you're going to have bad things happen to you in life, no matter what. In spite of why you're building, because we talked about you knocked yourself out. Omar hit the accelerator, business is growing, boom, 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 income's going up. But in the middle of that, you got all kind of problems you got to figure out that not nightmares that you did not have anything to do with, but it's in your lap. One thing was this house. You buy this great house. Now the thing is asbestos, and you got to tear it all out and have a battle with the contractor. And what were you living with your parents for a while or something like that? Or
yeah, it was actually like asbestos. It was the drywall. The drywall was very high in certain chemicals. It was actually corroding all the copper, all the electrical, all the plumbing. All of our TVs were going bad. So we were living in the house for maybe a year and a half because Brady was 3 and Olivia was a year and a half. So we were living in the house for a year and a half, 2 years. And we were like, stuff keeps breaking and this doesn't make any sense. And all our air conditioning units, we're having to replace them. And you can make all great decisions. And through no fault of your own, things happen and we had to adjust.
Yeah, and life goes on. The business goes on. The people in the business, all of that, they're sympathetic, but they could really care less. They still needed to be taken care of. And now you've got to figure out how to get all of that done and squeeze what you're going to do with the family. You got the baby. What did you learn from that experience, let's say?
I would say we probably learned a couple things. We learned definitely to appreciate what we had. Sometimes you think like, okay, now we have the big house and we have money coming in and we have lots of stuff and opportunity. There were days probably that we started to take for granted all that we had. And that really having to deal with that, it was a lot all at once because like I said, we had a 3-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. So I was very overwhelmed with being a mom at that same time. And we're trying to run our business and we're trying to figure out the house and we didn't know what to do at first, how to fix it. We did end up having to gut the entire house. We moved out of the house for 2 years. That was something where Omar was so we definitely learned, I think we appreciated what we had even more, reminded us to appreciate what we have, reminded us to be grateful for what we have and we had. And then when we were looking at where we should live for those, we didn't know how long it would be that we needed to be out of the house, but we were trying to figure out what to do. And so I said to Omar really wanted to rent a house because we were making the money. That wasn't a financial decision. But I said to him, look, you're working a lot. I'm very overwhelmed with 2 little babies. I said, I would really prefer to live with my mom and dad. They live right down the street from our house, 5 minutes down the street. So it'll be very convenient, easy for Omar to go back and forth because he had to do a lot of like the general contractor, overwatch everything. And so I said, it'll be very easy for you to go back and forth. I won't have to have the stress of moving into a new place and out of a new place and getting the babies readjusted. I'll have my mom and dad there to help me. So that he was very selfless, unselfish in that decision. And he allowed us to do that, which really made my life a lot easier.
Right.
And so I was able to just be a mom and focus on taking care of the kids and still be able to help him and be able to help in the business. But that allowed him to still continue to focus on the business as
Have
well.
you checked the sheetrock out at your new place?
Fortunately, that house was built after the whole drywall thing. So I
Okay. All right. Do not get your sheetrock from China.
think, well,
That's how they dispose of their toxic waste. They make sheetrock for Americans.
For those of you who are sick and tired of fooling around and are dead serious about wanting to move up fast, I've got something especially for you. I've combined the best insights from over 40 years in business and making $70 million in income and compressed them into a free webinar. That's right, it's a free resource. If you want to find out exactly what the concepts are that I use in coaching million-dollar earners, register now at weidelonwinning.com. You'll discover the 5-part framework used by so many to reach their financial, personal, and professional goals. You can find that link in this episode's show notes.
The thing is that in terms of your expansion, what people don't understand that are not successful and people who are successful, we almost get defensive about staying on the attack and keeping our foot to the accelerator for growth. But the thing is, what they don't understand, you got a lot of people counting on you to perform. The bigger you get, the more people you can help, like you say. But the rich will always be damned to hell by the people who are not successful, because there are some people that lie, cheat, and steal their way there, but they usually blow up and they don't have what you do is, and that's why on this call, I vetted as closely as possible to get people who have been successful for over long periods of time because they have fundamentals and principles. You don't have to have a million of them, but you got to have a few of them to keep yourself on track and keep yourself doing the right things under all kind of situations. Some are opportunities presented to you. The other thing are disasters that drop out of the sky in your lap. But it's the same you that's got to deal with all of those kind of things. And so you want to build that in your team. And because sooner or later, the disasters are coming. And the bigger you are, the more street and the more momentum you have in the business, the more likely you are to be able to keep rolling through those things.
right.
And come out the other side as quick as possible. And the faster you can get through disasters, the less likely you're going to be scarred by them. But when you limp along, it's like every little speed bump on the highway. If you're going 5 miles an hour or 2 miles an hour, that little speed bump might be enough to make you stop. Or might not have enough momentum to get over it. But when you grow and you have your momentum, there's challenges for that. But would you say the challenges of growth are not put you under stress? You got more things to do. You got different situations to do. You're always doing something new that you've never done before because you've had success. But would you say, how would you explain the comparison of having to deal with, choosing to deal with the problems of growth than the problems of boredom and failure and sliding back and losing momentum and letting the good life kind of slip away from you because you took it for granted? Explain that to people, or how you look at that.
I would say being able to always be working towards something and having bigger vision to move towards and move forward. You never feel bored. You never feel, and maybe it is uncomfortable at times. Actually, for me, speaking was very, very uncomfortable. When Omar and I first got married, that was kind of the one thing I said to him was, you're good at speaking. I do not like to speak. I don't want to speak. Please don't ask me to speak. I'll do anything else, but I don't want to speak. And I was really petrified to speak in even in a small setting. But little by little, it's like I had to realize in order for me to grow and get better, and in order for us to grow and get better as a couple and as a team and grow our business, I needed to do some stuff that I was uncomfortable with and get comfortable with certain things, some of those kind of things. So actually now I enjoy speaking, which is funny. Now you put me when we've spoken at the convention, I get mad at Omar because he won't give me more time out of his time. I want more time on the stage.
He's hogging the time slot.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, I don't know. I guess,
These 50,000 people want to hear from me, not you, Omar. Shut up.
Let
Look
me
at their
talk.
faces. Can't you tell they want to hear from me?
That's right. I believe I'm very blessed because I grew up in a house where people were always working towards something.
Yeah.
And then now my adult life and
Well, let's look at it this way. Let's look at it this way, Danielle. The thing is, things you're afraid of have a power over it. It's kind of like a kryptonite, the things you're no good at. I'm no good at the computer, or I'm no good at those fancy phones, those smartphones. And it's amazing. It wasn't that many years ago that Oprah didn't know how to do email. Let's be honest. Raise your hand if you can remember that, Oprah learning email. I'm the one who taught Art Williams how to do email and on his iPad. And you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And the group text and this, that, and the other. And he'd want ahead of me. I said, no, you hold it. Now take and move it over there. But the thing is, Oprah and Art are very fast learners. Millionaires are pretty fast learners. And so you don't have to, but they still need to be taught. We all need to be taught. But when you have a weakness, usually it appears to be a scarier thing than in your mind than it really is. But when you get through that, don't you feel more empowered now? I mean, that fear of speaking doesn't have the power over you. It's not like a weakness that you had. That's not a kryptonite to you anymore.
Right. Right. Yeah, definitely. Definitely when you overcome something, you feel that.
And how did you get yourself to do it step by step? How did you just got drawn into it where situations came up and you were talking and speaking more and you didn't even realize it? It just kind of naturally happened, or what?
I would say there were two different times, and I don't remember which came first, but one time I had pretty much for a couple years would not speak. Omar was getting asked to do schools at different places, different states.
Yeah.
We would fly to the states.
Right.
And so I would say, I'll do like the little personal stuff, one-on-one kind of talks and stuff, but not, please don't put me on stage. And so one time we went and did a school for Christian David. And the night before the actual school, we were eating dinner. And so he said to me, "You're speaking, right?" And I said, "No, I don't speak." He went through this whole thing about how you have a story that people need to hear, and you've grown up in the business, and you can talk about what it was like to grow up with goals and dreams and positive influences. And he said, "You have so much to share." And he said, "So it's a shame not to share it." When I went back to the room, I was like, "Oh man, I guess I have to do it now." So I said to Omar, "Okay, tell Christian I'll talk tomorrow." And I wrote down some stuff, I prepared. And when I spoke, I felt really good about what I spoke about. I did a good job, and I shared information that was really valuable. That really started to give me confidence. And then I think this came next. Then we had like our year-end awards. And so I said to Omar, "Okay, I'm ready to speak." He's like, "How much time do you want?" I was like, "I don't know. Don't time me. Just let me talk."
Yeah.
And I talked, and I did a great job. I was very prepared. And then a lot of people came up to me afterwards and said, "Oh, it's so great to hear from you and hear your views, and you get to learn more about you." And then little by little.
Yeah. When it's important to note that when you were having the walk on the beach with Omar, he already had built a great organization, and he had a great income, more than most people will ever. The average person would make a couple $100,000 a year in a business of their own. It would seem like you already had the dream life. But the thing is, you wanted to hammer down, it was not fulfilling from what I'm hearing, because you were around. I mean, you go to the office and you'd see him and you'd have lunch and you had things going on. But it's something different than when you turn a business into an adventure. It becomes like, to me, it becomes like sports, winning a championship. When I grew up, I thought business was sitting in an office shuffling papers. I just couldn't imagine why people would do that, because I grew up playing sports, not any good at it, but playing. That's what I did. Outside, we're playing whatever the sport of the season is. And the idea of being in an office shuffling paper, but it was a big light bulb for me when I found out, no, business is sports. It's competition. You're putting teams together. You're in a different environment. and there's championships to win. There's breakthroughs to make. There's adventures going on, and they're going on all over the world. It's like sports, athletic competition on a global scale if you want to do that type thing. So, what about yourself would you say? How would you explain to people the thrill? It's kind of like, are you doing the business? You're not doing the business for money now, but you're doing it for the thrill of breakthroughs and to meet people you could never meet otherwise, have experiences you otherwise could never have, and really stretch your life out to way beyond. The thing about a comfort zone is that's what you can see, that's acceptable to you. You can make that happen. You don't have to extend yourself. I can go out and do that. It's like going to the gym and I can lift 5-pound dumbbells. No problem. I got this. I can see myself. But when you want to stretch yourself, you're not going to grow your muscles that way. In fact, you can go to the gym and atrophy, have your muscles shrivel up on you, and you're doing all these workouts with these little tiny weights. But if you want to be strong and you want to keep your mind engaged in it, you've got to be going for something you haven't done before. It's something about the way life is. And the sooner you get past the point of people making you feel bad about it because they're wrong, not you. You hear this all the time. Have you started playing golf out there?
Yes.
Oh, you have?
Yes, I have.
Here's what you go through. You get out there, you get a score. You start getting your handicap, start keeping up with your handicap. And then it's like people will say, good Lord, you got a handicap down in single digits now, or you're shooting par. How good do you want to get? You know, you're never going to be a pro. What do you keep practicing and doing this, that, and the other? Well, what they don't understand is it's fun to improve. It's fun to do things you've never done before, even in a game like golf.
Right.
And if you're shooting free throws, it's just like, if I'm shooting 100 free throws, how many out of 100 can I make? How many in a row can I make? It takes it from work. The thing about it is it takes it from work, just going through the motion of doing it, to where it becomes fun. It becomes sport. It becomes an adventure. It's you against yourself, and you're challenging yourself to see if you're good enough to move to that level. And basically, that gives you more freedom and more confidence when you do break through to those levels, just like you getting past the speaking issues. As your business expands right now, what is the payoff for you other than money? Because I'm sure you're not paying attention to the money.
Yeah, I think at some point it stops being about money. And it never was all about
Right.
money. It was about having the money, having freedom, being able to have so many choices and options, not having money be able to control our choices and options. That was really the immediate goal. Was we wanted to get to a place where we had enough money invested, enough money coming in, where our choices and our options were fairly unlimited when it came to money. And we didn't have to choose to do or not do based on money. Then you get to a point where, and even along the way, a lot of it too is the competition. We would go to trips and we would see there were times when we were winning all the awards, and then there were other times where we didn't win as many awards. So then we would be like, oh, that's not a good feeling. We don't like the feeling of not winning 20 awards. And obviously these other people are doing what they need to do. So we need to get back on it, get back focused, and raise our game. And that's even now, that's kind of where we're at as far as it's twofold. I think it's that we still want to compete. We don't like to get to a level where we're not really, where we're just kind of like, okay, we're good, but we're not competing at the high level. And the more time and effort that we put into the business, I mean, there are lots of people in our business that need our help. There's people in our office that need our help. There's people that have their own offices that just us communicating with them or dropping in on them or doing a little meeting for them or calling them on the phone, and different conversations that we can have that we can affect changes in them or give them some inspiration and some guidance. And I think at a point it becomes more about how many other people can you help to get to those levels that you're at. You find such a sense of accomplishment when you have people open up their own office and then they grow, and people that you've been very, very good friends with. There's people that have been in our business for all the 20 years that we've been together, or 10 years or 12 years. And so we're close with them. We're close friends with them. I'm friends with the wife and we're close together. Like we know their kids and they know our kids. And when we see them raising their game and growing their business and knowing that they have more options and opportunity because of the choices that they're making, because of some example that we have set, that's a really amazing.
And it's more
feeling.
likely that they're going to have that growth in their career as long as you're continuing to push in your career, because you're setting the attitude and the tone and the direction for the company. And if the company now starts to cool off and there's not as much talk and emphasis on growth in numbers and growth and expansion and territory, their opportunities, they're pretty much going to be stuck in their spot. And so it relates to keeping your people fired up too. It's just always been easier for me to get people excited about going for number one, going for a record. If you can't go for number one, at least go for a record. Set a record. There's something exciting about setting a record. One thing I learned about sports from playing sports in high school and growing up is like winning is better than losing. I learned winning is more fun.
For sure.
I learned that lesson. I don't have to be professional athlete caliber person to learn or to know that winning is better. And I also know that no matter what championships you've won in the past, what we're talking about is no matter how many successful years you guys have stacked in a row up till now, if you go out, if you won the Super Bowl, like Tom Brady won the Super Bowl, he's won 800 Super Bowls, he's still going to be madder than fire if he plays another year and they lose all their games. Or it's not going to be all right for him not to go back to the Super Bowl next year. It's not going to be all right to lose. It's not going to be all right for him, no matter Hall of Fame, quarterback. It's not going to be all right for him to have an interception next year. It's because you want to win. And once you get that thing, that taste of winning, you want to fight for it because that's what validates, the winning validates all the effort you've been putting in, especially when you have a team. It validates it for all the people that help the team win, because maybe they couldn't go out and win a national championship by themselves, but they can make a contribution and they can wear the national championship jersey. They can feel part of the team. And so the leader's got to be unapologetic in pushing forward and not let the naysayers back you off. But on the other hand, you can find ways of offloading time-consuming, annoying type stuff that's part of you being able to handle the bigger numbers and everything with staff and things like, but you got to learn, you got to develop that skill too, how to delegate, how to hire. And it's an ongoing type thing. I've always said, I always want to keep enough of a business going where I can have a pretty big staff so that when my computer breaks, my phone breaks, I call somebody, they fix it. If I got to make a trip, I call and I say, have them make the trip. A car, rental, all the arrangement. No, call the office. They do it. If I go to the hotel and things are not right, or if I put a charge card in and it doesn't go through, I just dial somebody and say, boom, 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 boom. Otherwise, you got to handle all of this stuff yourself. But how's your staffing as you've expanded? Now, how has your staff, what kind of staff and help do you have?
In our office, we have 2 full-time people. They're fully devoted to everything in the business. They handle everything in the office. Like you said, anything that we need, that anything goes wrong, any challenges we have, the client, and anytime clients call, any of that stuff is handled by our 2 office managers who are amazing, Vanessa and Audrey.
Yeah.
Give them a little shout out. So they're really awesome. They've been with us for a really long time. They know exactly what we need. And we have also Luce, who works with us here at home. She's here with us every day, 5 days a week. And she does everything at the house. She's amazing. She's been with us also 16, 17 years. We actually found her when we lived in the townhouse.
Oh.
She's like part of our family, but she handles everything at the house. She does all the groceries. She does all the errands, little errands and that kind of stuff. So she helps me a lot.
And so the thing is, you can always staff up as you're growing, and you'll know to do that when you get there. No
Yeah.
one had to tell you about hiring. Was it loose? No one had to hire you. Tell you about that. It kind of comes to you, folks. So these things, as you're living the life, a lot of these light bulbs will go on. And the reason they're not going on now is maybe you don't need them. But your subconscious will turn on a switch in your mind when you need it, because you'll either have the answer or you'll know what question to ask to somebody to get the answer, to solve the problem, to keep moving forward. But what would you say to the people that are at a point in their life where they don't really need to keep pushing? What would you say to them as a last word? We'll wrap this up. Let's just talk about the ability to give out and help other people, the richness of being able to give back and help other people, not only make the trips you want, be able to support the causes you want, and do things like that only comes because you've kept pushing. You have this excess. You've created discretionary time, discretionary income, where you can now decide where the money's going to go, where your time is going to go, either personally to recharge as a family or to go out and get behind some of these people. You got doctors that fly to countries all over the world on their time off, week or two at a time, to do free surgery here and, really in all specialties. But they only can do that because of the success they have that allows them that independence. So what would you say as a final thing? What is to you, the biggest advantage of continuing to keep this momentum? Because I know you guys have had a spectacular growth year in spite of the COVID and the quarantine. What is the advantage of, as you're looking at your business now after a huge growth year like you've had, and gives you the energy to want to keep that going? How would you explain that to people that are coming up the ladder?
I would say that it's great to get to a level where you're good. It's great to get your business to a level where your family is comfortable and you have all the things that you feel like you need, but that isn't the level where you can start to really affect other people.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between being good, your own family being good, and getting to a level where you have really so much resources and so much time that you can see where you want to put those resources. I have a lot of time.
Yeah.
Not only am I able to be there for my kids all the time, pick them up everywhere, drive them everywhere, go to every event that they have, not ever miss anything, but I'm also able to spend a ton of time. Omar jokes like I'm a full-time employee that doesn't get paid at the school because I am able, and that brings me joy that I can do stuff at the school, that I can help out the school, help out the teachers, help out the other kids, do things that are fun for the kids, and being able to give at our church, give plenty of money to the church where we're helping out different charities, and then also being able to have that time where we're able to continue to help develop other leaders. It's all part of being able to help not just your own family, but other families, because you really can't, until you get to a certain level, you can't really inspire anybody else.
Right.
You have to get to a level where where other people look at you like, wow, what you guys have done is really great. So if you're going to talk, I'm going to listen to you.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what keeps us going, is that we're at that point where it's fun to keep growing. It's fun to keep competing. We don't like to lose.
Right.
Like you said, winning is more fun than losing. So we want to keep winning, and we want to continue to be at a place where we're able to help other people, to inspire other people. When people need some support, and they can call us and we can walk them through how to get through the challenges they're going through. That's what keeps us going, I think.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's just such a joy to inspire other people. And your past success, like people who have retired, they've been successful in business or whatever, and people know them. There's a certain inspiration of hearing them talk or meeting them in person. But let's just say golf. Jack Nicklaus was always very inspiring, even when he retired, when he couldn't play that much, more or less retired. He retired from the full schedule. But he wasn't nearly as inspiring as it was when in 1984, he played, I think it was 84, he played in the Masters and won the Masters at age 44. He inspired a whole lot more people when he actually went out there and he was red hot and playing. And so the thing is, when you're red hot, If you have this ability that you've developed that's made yourself successful, why not use it? That's what you're the best at. Pass that on. You earned the chance to be that good. Like you said, not just good in the sense of taking care of your family, but to really, when you can communicate things that people need to hear, you can be a difference maker. That is very, very rewarding. And that's why you see so many people that are successful giving back, looking for places where they can help, because it's just a real joy to be able to inspire other people and see them win and go out and have success after you've spent a little time with them. Of course, they get all the credit, but to have a chance to be a little part of that and just get up close and personal with that whole journey is just rewarding. And so many benefits of being, well, I'll say this. There's so many insane benefits from staying on the attack, continuing to knock down barriers, learn new skills, expand to where you've never been before, meet new people, new motivated people. But I just don't know of any advantages shuttering your doors and cooling off. If you have a car, you need to crank that sucker and go somewhere. Your car sitting in the garage is not a lot of fun. All these guys have all these luxury cars are sitting in a warehouse. That's great. But most of the time, it's like a tree in the forest, whoever sees it. So the thing is, get yourself cranked, stay cranked, and go out there and see what kind of adventures are out there, because that's where the real joy and payoff is. And thanks for explaining this. You want to say one last thing in parting?
One last thing, as you're talking, I thought of too, is that with us, we have middle school kids. Another benefit for us staying engaged and staying focused is that they get to watch that at their age, because if we just kind of relaxed back and weren't really working towards anything, these are the years, in my opinion, these are like the most important years. They're teenage years, they're high school years. So the longer that Omar and I can keep working towards goals and dreams and have vision, and that we're able to really keep impacting our kids, I think, which is really important to show them that that's really how you're supposed to be in life. You need to keep working and keep striving.
Great point. Thanks so much for adding that, Danielle. You've been so much fun to talk with. Wish you the best. And we'll have to bring you back down the road and see what you're learning, see what life is teaching you as you guys continue to go out and compound and grow and even double your business. Next time we talk, you'll probably be in all 50 states with your business. It'll be probably international too. So it'll be fun to catch up down the road. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Million Dollar Mastermind podcast. Commit to your personal and professional evolution with our free training video. It's designed not just as an educational session, but as a transformative journey for those bold enough to aim for the stars. This isn't just any webinar. It's a roadmap to achieving the extraordinary. It's tailored for those who dare to dream big, and yes, it is completely free. Join us in a network of ambitious professionals ready to take their careers to new heights. Secure your spot now at weidelonwinning.com, and let's unlock your potential together. Thanks for being part of this community.